Yo, it's natural Jules time, motherfuckers. And you join me this time on a Haveri-Lampila area, very nearby where I live actually. And the reason why I am at such a location is fairly simple. It belongs to Natural Heritage Foundation here in Finland, owns it and has preserved it. It's a foundation which buys and preserves important forest and swamp areas here in Finland. And this is actually the nearest to my house, this place. And the foundation had a hazel spruce there in the background. Anyway, they had a campaign to find guards for these areas. When I say guards, it's just sort of people who go to the area once or twice a year and then report to them. I replied to that campaign, and they decided that I should take charge of this place, and now it's time to investigate what I've gotten myself into. And it does look rather gorgeous already. I just 100 meters or so from the road and from my car, and it looks absolutely amazing. And there was already a European jay there and that hazel spruce. Take a little stroll here and see what we can find. Absolutely gorgeous looking place. There are some tracks here. Many people are still allowed to walk in this place, but any sort of collecting of wood, cutting down or collecting is prohibited. So is camping, so is making fire, and all that sort of stuff is not allowed. In the autumn I took a little stroll on the southern side, and it was utterly fantastic. There's quite a bit of elevation here. Still that hazel spruce there. Just so lovely, boys, with those tiny birds, and they look just... What do you think of this? It's actually might be due to the huge snow coverage last winter, so no human interactions there, I suppose. But anyway, let's continue there towards north, and the border goes there, I suppose, pretty near there. And you can see the area is changing rapidly once you go into the other kinds of area. I suppose I shall climb up that hill bit. Now then, look at this place for a measure. Already saw there was a quite thick spruce habitat, and then just a few steps away there's this rather open, mostly pines, some dead ones there. And this is what nature is. It's just sort of like mosaic of different kinds of environments close to each other, linked via plants, and more to the point with animals. It is gorgeous. Climbing here, it's really difficult because the ground where there is no snow, it's rather soft and moist, and once the moss and lichen are moist, they sort of like peel off from the top of the stones very easily, so you have to take very gentle baby steps not to harm the undergrowth. but perhaps I managed. I felt my shoe slip a couple of times, little bit, but hopefully not too bad. Natural values of these places, but it doesn't even matter that much here because it's already conservated. Once it is conservated, it means that the natural value of the place is just going up because there's human interactions with the area is so limited. There's a brand new fallen down pine last winter. You can see the needles are still full green color, cones even here in here. You're gonna be gorgeous place for the insects to lay their eggs. But anyway, let's head downwards again. Now that obviously this area has been in a forest industry use not so long ago, and you can still see there in the moist grounds you can see the straight ditching, but as you can see it's fairly old ditch. It's starting to grow moss thing, and it will eventually close up and then it will return to its natural state. Now that it's conservated area, it will happen. The foundation, Natural Heritage Foundation here in Finland, you can obviously it was founded by a fisherman and philosopher and writer and naturalist Pentti Linkola in the mid-90s. It has got something like a little bit over 100 of these areas littered around Finland, and together they form a 30 square kilometers worth of conservated areas. That may not sound like much, and it isn't actually. So you can donate your lands into their use, or you can donate money. Even small amounts matter. Check out the websites. I'll put the link there for you. And that money is of course used in areas such as this. Magnificent. I mean, was the overall measure of the areas which they have protected is not very large currently, but it is going constantly up. And combine that with the areas that the government has protected and with the areas that just your common people have conservated, and together they form quite a nice patch of land. But anyway, more is needed because the situation is dire. There are not that many places especially here in southern Finland, where there is very old ancient forests left. A couple of national parks here and there, but very isolated and tiny pockets. And it is crucial that we find these places like this one. Well, in here the trees are not that old yet. They are not massive. They are not even that shield bark yet on those pines, but it's starting to form soon. Give it 50 years or so. Once again, the point is that now that it is conservated, the natural values are going up. Ooh, look at that stone. There's quite a bit of that. I completely forgotten what it is in English. Certain species of fern. Common polypod. I don't know which one is the correct term for this plant, but look at it. It's a species of very ancient plant life, that fern. It uses spores to multiply. And it does make this utterly more special now, this place. It's like a toupee on that rock. Utterly brilliant. The clear indicator that this has been used by a forest industry. You can see there are some old stumps here, but as you can see they are very old and disappearing soon altogether, melting into the undergrowth. And this is also these conservation areas, unlike the national parks, and it's not meant for us humans to come and experience. These are meant to be kept for the nature to do what nature does. Oh yes, look at this place now. Absolutely gorgeous. Sign of a moose. Hunting is also prohibited on these areas, so they work as a sort of like tiny pockets where the game can rest. I'm so glad I joined in on this. There's quite a steep hill down there, and yet you can see the hands of a man. Small pockets these are, but still important ones. It is beautiful. Still rather young, but potent. That's what we are after. It will grow to be even more spectacular when it is now allowed to do so. I mean, the forest industry, yes, there are all sorts of standards and ideas about making it more economical and sustainable and what have you, but still it just doesn't work, because the forests need our absence, especially the absence of a huge machinery which will take all, if not all, then most of the trees away, and then leave huge marks on the forest floor. It just cannot be ever fully economical or sustainable sort of big thing here in Finland. Obviously everything is bio, what is based on wood, and it's just with a wood cutting standards that we have today, it just isn't. It's just utterly idiotic to say so. But anyway, there's the fields. There's a nice boulder. Huge dead tree there. This looks gorgeous, but I try to follow the borders. But first things first, if I can get down from here. I have to shut down the phone now because I need both my hands to climb down here. Yes, indeed, I made it without an incident. And once again, this is completely different kind of environment, you can see. Now we are on the side of that field. The side of these fields, as you can see, are covered with tiny spruces, few pines and a couple aspens and willows. They are perfect for the tiny birds to hide their nests in. And as you can see, once again, there is a clear-cut area there behind me, and there's another huge one. That is so sad. Oops, dropped the phone. Sorry. Just why do the people who own places nearby these conservated areas still want to use their forests like that? It just doesn't make any sense. If you know somewhere to have a massive natural value that are next to your forest, why don't just conserve your own forests as well, so you can get larger area with enormous natural value, because the size of the area actually matters quite a lot. Old fields and meadows and what have you serve as sort of different kind of habitat once again. and they can be used the wandering moose and deer, lots of insects and butterflies and spiders and what have you. Good place for certain types of flowers and grass. And the way to keep them open, you need to have cattle, sheep or cows or something to constantly roam about in the area and eat lots of it, eat the willows and keep them in check so they don't spread. Now in nature this will obviously be done by elk and deer. And more to the point, these are sort of, not entirely I suppose, relics from the Ice Age, because back then there was a megafauna like mammoths and huge deers and oxes and what have you roaming about, which kept the meadows and what have you open from shrubs and trees. There's actually Lampila pond there. I shall go over here if I'm able to. Perhaps I can jump across. Yes, easily. But this is not very nice. There's a old road and there is actually quite a huge ditch there. But this pond doesn't actually belong to this conservation area. The border goes right. Sorry, tiny willows. The border goes in the shores of it, sort of like, don't look at back there. It's utter rubbish. This is actually, oh yes, it's clear now why there is this huge road. Because I mean, we could make do with so much less, but what do you know? Let's just focus on this gorgeous area. There's the pond. Like you see, the border goes pretty much all the way around it. This northern bit of it doesn't belong to this conservation area, but otherwise the shores do. Let's just circle it. I'm gonna use this track now for a little while because it's already been ruined, so there's no chance for me to ruin it further. And this mosaic of Finnish wilderness is littered with these small ponds and larger lakes even here and there. And the animals and plants have evolved to use them all. Like you see here, the swans. It's actually Finnish national bird, it's a whooper swan. And here you can see a little bit old field. And by the way, that path that I took there a little while back, it was so new that it actually didn't show on the map. It makes a complete and utter mess of the forest floor. Look, there's a lean-to on top. It's such a shame that clear-cut area. Utter idiocy. It's just, there's no other word for it. What sort of well, anyway, enough of that. Let's focus on the task at hand, shall we? Look at what I've found now. It starts to snow, as you can see, but this is an old field as well, I suppose, and there are old ditches with a little bit larger ditch here. I suppose I'll go there a little bit. There are some tree trunks there, which I can probably use to get over. Look at this. Mushrooms. If you come here during the snow time, you don't see the forest floor properly and you cannot tell which sort of an environment you are currently in, and then you cannot estimate what sort of place it should be, what are these natural values and what have you. But even in snow time you can always look at these trees, and more to the point, the to these dead trees and mushrooms. And true measure of the forest is not the trees that are alive and standing upright. It is indeed the trees that have fallen down there, or dead ones that are still standing up. That is one thing that those industrially used forests bit lack. That old dead tree mass, which once again in a natural state in forests, it's enormous amount of dead tree matter. It's greater than the tree matter that is alive by far, and it should be, because there are so many different species of mushrooms and insects and what have you that are dependent upon dead tree matter. But let's see, I'll try to cross this one via here and that one via there. I shall get back to you when I'm wet. Well, I'm still more or less dry, and like I said, some animals are dependent upon dead tree matter. There's a hole in that wood. Just to prove my point. Tons of birds, mostly the woodpecker that drills those holes, and after a day are done with it, many other animals, tiny owls, flying squirrel, anyway, the flying glove thing, but tinder mushroom, that black one there. Mushroom which we have used for medical purposes as humans, and it is good, and you sort of make it as a tea, serves as replacement for coffee and whatnot. Well, it doesn't have any caffeine in it, but other good sort of qualities. Let's go over this one, hopefully. Now I'm heading north on the side of that Lampila pond, and I found this sort of area. You can see there's huge aspens there. Now I shall make an episode about aspens later, but if you so wish, put a comment down there below if you want to hear about aspens. Those huge, these are actually a little bit too small yet. But anyway, the aspen is preferred by woodpeckers and flying squirrels. There are other good qualities about aspens. In Finnish forests, I shall talk to you about them later. But anyway, so if you have got aspens growing in your forests, just don't cut them. Whatever you do, don't cut them, and leave spruces there as well, because spruces provide cover for a flying squirrel. Aspens provide nests, nesting place, nesting grounds, and spruces provide shelter from predators. So, and my hint always is, if you are wondering whether you should cut wood from your forests, just don't, if it's not absolutely necessary. And then if it is, just small amount at a time, with as small machinery as possible, so you don't create disturbance in natural order of things. Perhaps 10 tree trunks per hectare is acceptable if you need to take something. Anyway, no, we shall continue. This is not about forest industry. Come on, shape up, man. This is about this magnificent area. And here we have some dead tree trunks. Once again, gorgeous. Sun is coming up. This is Finnish springtime now. A little bit of snow here and there. Some sunshine as well. There are somewhat of these dead trees on the forest floor, as you can see here. But there doesn't seem to be very old dead tree trunks, which are already covered fully with moss. So once again, it is getting there, but it's not quite there yet. But given I maintain my earlier statement, 50 years, about 40, 50, 60 years, then it will be utterly gorgeous to behold. Now we leave that pond behind. The border goes pretty much there. As you can see, there's a small ditch and that smaller trees there. So we are heading there northwards. Now one thing obviously that you should consider if you're coming or working on environmental stuff such as this is if you go to these areas in the winter time, you can use snow as a tracking device. But I didn't need these tracks to confirm that there are quite many mooses or elks, since we are in Europe. Elks in this area because there's quite a lot of shit. Sorry, manure. There are tons of tits there. Come on, grow up. The bird tits. And fringes. Finch, not a fringe. Anyway, you can hear it singing there on the background. Utterly gorgeous. Now, main problem with this place, as well as many places here in southern Finland, is obviously, once again, our influence. And although it's not so clear when you look at that direction, our influence, but you can absolutely hear it pretty much everywhere, because this place too is in between two major roads. Ruckus from their vehicles in those roads can be heard fairly long way into the forests. I bravely decided to, because there was so much snow in that shrub-like area, in that thicket, I decided to circle it up there and head back north from up that ridge. There's quite a lot of snow everywhere on that northern side. So perhaps I just head west. There's a road coming soon. Use it to turn further north. I investigate the rest next autumn when I come here second time. Now that area isn't... Do you hear that? Anyway, that area doesn't look that promising. Small trees, very thick shrubbery-like trees. So it isn't that good in that good condition as the rest of it is. But give it 150 years and it will look amazing as well. This Haveri-Lampila area, which I am guardian now. No, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna use the word ranger, because that's just so cool ring to it. But anyway, that I'm ranger of. It's 70 hectares in large. So it's quite significant. So here in southeastern Botnia we don't have of these old forests left. Same deal everywhere here in southern with Finland, but the worst by far is the southeastern Botnia. Mainly because there's quite a lot of fields, quite a lot of agriculture, and then there's quite a lot of that Christian way of thinking, that everything that we have surrounding us is made for us. And even worse than that, we think that we are doing a favor to it. We think that it is natural for us to take huge clear-cut areas and then plant pine in it. It's just so utterly sad to think about all the areas that we have lost, all the nature that we have lost. Well, on the bright side, this area will not ever be lost again. Let's focus on that. There you can see the gorgeous birch tree. Look at those roots. Yes, once again, the forests turned into that tiny sapling and once that happened, the snow surface got thickened and it doesn't hold my feet, so I'm gonna head a little bit south there and try to circle it and head, because there after that tiny sapling area you can see there's some larger tree tops there in the distance. But yes, now I found very old decaying tree trunk. It's completely covered here in moss. Yes, but there aren't that many new ones here. I was talking to you about earlier that people think here that we are doing the nature a favor by using the clear-cut technique on our forests, and I can sort of see where this misled idea has formed. It has been said to mimic the forest fires. Well, I could make an episode completely and utterly from the forest industry. On this top side, it has been a small clear-cut area here. What I say, some 30 years ago, perhaps 35, 40. But anyway, it will look gorgeous after some 150 years. There you have it. Hey, look at that. Nice little crest here and nice forests beneath it. Oh yes, let's go down there and start heading there. Now there's quite a bit of that moss and it is rather wet, so it might indicate that this is actually a type of a swamp, which is rare here in southern Finland. But anyway, there's a small cabin road there, which I shall take and head further south with it and then turn to east where my car is. This is soon over, this magnificent voyage. There's a tiny area there which belongs to this natural preserve area. There's nice aspens there growing, and now if we head to east, border goes there on the side of that field, and this is rather thicket now, and there are some plastics here buried underneath. I think there's some form of protection. There's other. They have been here quite a while. They are just utterly crumbling. It's utterly useless material because it won't naturally decompose, it won't disappear. Although, since the bacteria evolution is so rapid, there has been some notions that some bacteria have evolved to dissolve plastics. So perhaps they will disappear given enough time, but we are not there yet. I mean, the nature is not there yet. Anyway, it's useless material. It should not be used anywhere other than storing food, really only food, and then it should be recycled, because would be easy to recycle if there were only one type of plastics used, and we could recycle them nearly endlessly. But anyway, let's leave that thicket behind. The border goes directly there. That one is nice looking as well there. There's the border, you can see, yes. This side isn't conservated, and this side is. There's a border in between, you can see here. And I'm going to add to my report that this would be a rather nice extension to the area. Check who owns it and start to negotiate whether if we can add. When I say we, I feel like already that I'm part of this foundation, just doing some voluntary work. Hopefully I'm useful to the foundation and to the conservation of these Finnish forests, because they deserve it. They deserve to be conservated. There are just so many different types of ecosystems, and this is utterly fantastic looking place. Once again, huge leaf trees there, nice spruces. There are no aspens or that sort of trees, so it's not as good as it could, but once again it is getting there, and it has got that feeling that you get in a very deserted areas which have been on their natural state a long time. So it is utterly fantastic. Wonder what that area is. It looks somewhat mysterious. There's a hole. It looks almost like an old yard housing area, but that hole actually indicates that there has been a tar mount here. But it isn't round. Plastic. And there is, you can see some old building material. So it has been some form of cabin place or even a house. I'm gonna no, they are deep in there. Very deep. Let's try that one. No, it's too large. I'm gonna ask permission from the foundation whether if I can come here and collect all those plastics off. But this has been some form of a house in here. At least logging cabin or something. And that might have been a cellar. Looking whether if this is a spring. There's no water gushing from the soil there, which would indicate that it is indeed a spring. And I have to check in autumn time when I come whether if there's still water, if it's dry. Yes, we are inside of that one of them fields, but now we have found these old fields once again. There are huge ditches there and clearly sown birch trees, but then there are nearby this field there are vole tracks here. They have been going underneath the snow here, and there was some frog, so there's life everywhere. This is once again that huge ditch which I already crossed there in the north. Let's go upstream a little bit, no downstream, because it flows this way. If you say, why won't you just jump over it? I mean, come on. Look at me. I'm not that sprightly. So let's keep on going northwards. Find a crossing there. Head onwards. The pages of history. The bunny was here. Well, it turned out to be the exact same place where I crossed when I was heading there. There's the pond. You can see there the distance. But it doesn't matter actually. I think this is rather nice place to wrap up this journey. I'm on top of the last hill. What can I say? Fantastic piece of woods. Utterly fantastic place. Nice bits of boulders, nice rocky areas. A little bit of those murkier around swampy areas. Diverse but yet a little bit young in age, but given enough time, 50 to 60 years, it will be utterly fantastic. And now, thanks to Finnish Natural Heritage Foundation, this place shall have its time that it requires to get to its full bloom. So please check in. Well, I was gonna say their website. It's down there. Donate money so they can continue their precious work. Ranger Jules reporting out. Peace, people.